Hey guys, I I want to start a video podcast, and so this past Sunday, actually Saturday and Sunday, I I bought a bunch of equipment, not a bunch, but you know what I mean. Um, so basically, I bought a tripod for a camera, um, and I already had a mic, but I bought a mic stand. Actually, I realized it didn't work for the mic I have. It had that freaking the threaded thing at the end. You don't it doesn't work that way. I guess it was cheap, so I just didn't realize it was cheap, so I just bought it. I thought every goddamn mic stand would work with any goddamn mic in the whole fucking world. But in any case, so I want to start this podcast, this podcast. I have an accent, so bear with me. I'm an immigrant. So there's a lot of bullshit going on these days with immigration and all that bullshit. With Trump and all that fucking nonsense. But in any case, I do want to do this video podcast, and I hope every one of you supports me. I mean, and there is a lot of things that I need to talk about, and I'm pretty sure you all need to listen to and watch me talk about it. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of you actually will relate to that. And also I have a lot of shit that I have to unload. Not in a sense of like fucking Mission Impossible unload. The bad guy is unloading, oh shit, where's fucking Tom Cruise? He's fucking in a Russian jail. Not in that sense, but you know what I mean. And I have a lot to talk about, actually. I have a lot, like, you won't fucking believe it. I mean, I moved to this city, or this state, like 16 years ago, and and the way I moved here, it wasn't like I was an asylum seeker from Afghanistan or one of those fucking countries. No, it wasn't. I went to an Ivy League school. I had a good education. I had my dad was an educationist, and my mother, she has her own stories. Of course, every mother does. And she was the best of all, and she's still best of all. I mean, I have to say that she's one of the best mothers that I have ever had in my life, and she still supports me. Although, I mean, I have to say that she kind of annoys me when she says that, oh, you are still single, and I want to see my grandchildren before I die, and she kind of annoys me. I guess, the traditional women who actually were brought up in a traditional way, although my mother wasn't a traditional woman and she always wanted to pursue a career, but she was denied that because for whatever the hell happened in my paternal side of the family. They thought it was kind of a privilege for her to go to school while all the other women in the family would work in the fields. Typical story, in the mountains. But besides that, I want to talk about many other things, including what's happening now in the real newest 21st century, and I think we are looking forward to some really great things which are going to happen, including possibly somebody building a goddamn spaceship. And I always say that when I talk about the spaceship, because it's very important for humans to evolve. Evolve in a sense that how we evolve from where we are, where we were. We started off from the cave, and I have to quote many great people, including Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's the astrophysicist who run the planetarium in New York City, and I mean, you talk to him, and you get this great, amazing vibe about many things, including why we have to colonize Mars. I mean, I think his point is true. Why did you have to colonize, for example, Middle East, when we as monkeys from Africa, when we came out, when we started walking up, upright, although I have a lot of things to say about that, in terms of how human brain evolved, while trying to walk upright, and then but getting to my point about what Neil deGrasse Tyson said was that, in one of his shows, like I think Bill Maher's shows, real-time shows, Bill Maher's like, Mars doesn't have water. Mars is nothing, and Earth is water. Earth is air, and and Neil goes like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's what the cave was. And that's what the people who live in the cave said. They said, hey, listen, you go out there, you're going to be eaten by a cheetah or one of those goddamn, one of those predator animals. And that's what Bill Maher is all about. I mean, he's a great actor and he's a comedian. I appreciate his work, and I watch his real time as much as I can, and I don't think he actually listens to our partakes on the liberal only venues. Bill Maher and I stand one thing in common, if nothing, and I'm not a comedian. I'm an engineer. So, no, I'm not an engineer from goddamn Prometheus, because that was so fucked up. I mean, when I saw that movie for the first time, I know that's a prequel to one of the Alien movies, but when I saw that for the first time, I thought, no, that's not what the engineers do. The engineers won't they won't kill you. I mean, in a sense that, okay, I mean, I don't want to digress into Prometheus or the Alien genre, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that my affiliation, not affiliation, but what's the fucking word, man? English language is so fucked up. It's like, you know what I call English language? English language is like the bastardization of the Latin languages and the Northern European languages. That's what English is. But in any case, that's not my point. My point is that Bill Maher and I actually share one thing, and it's fucking true. We went to the same school, although he went to the same school upstate New York for 4 years. I don't know how he fucking tried to manage it, because fucking 4 years in Ithaca is it's a lot of fucking winters. Although I had to give props to my one of my sisters who actually went to school there, and she actually did spend winter. When I say winter, like Christmas time, New Year's time, she was there. I don't know how, because when I left Cornell, the year following when I left, I heard there were a lot of suicides um, in in the Cornell community, and Cornell is a very depressing campus when it comes to winter, and especially when you don't have anybody else to talk to. Um, but besides the point, it's a fucking great campus, and I mean, I was talking to my friend Hanif actually. We were grabbing drinks downtown yesterday, which is Sunday. I try not to grab drinks on Sundays, but I guess because we hadn't met in a long time. And I was talking to him. He actually went to hotel school at Cornell, and Cornell has produced a lot of talent, and I give a props to that, and apparently Cornell and some other institute, I don't know where the hell it is, they are doing a lot of work in New York City, and Cornell is into a lot of theoretical stuff. Is into a lot of theoretical stuff that I didn't want to be part of, to be honest with you. But I ended up being part of, like, for a couple of my courses that I took, which I never wanted to take. I guess I wanted to. Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I wanted to take a lot of courses at Cornell, but I guess I wasn't that objective, because I thought everything was subjective, and they wanted me to actually spend more time there, including my scholarship funders, the Aga Khan Foundation. I'm very very not to say proud, but I'm very thankful to them for giving me a scholarship to go to this college. Although, I mean, I have to say that I should have asked for more money, because I was hand to mouth, man. I mean, if you want to ask me for how I started my life in this country, I don't know. I mean, I started off in this country, through going to college, and this country is great for education. I mean, there's a lot of potential if you are into sciences, engineering. Whether you are an immigrant or not, you are on a scholarship or not, I mean, what Cornell actually taught me, I think, was, and it actually does teach a lot of other kids, whether you are an immigrant or you're from here, is that it's hard work. It's fucking hard work, and you have to do it. You can't just fucking run away. And you have to do it. You have to do it in a sense. And I mean, I had a quote. Another guy, actually, I'm very inspired by Bill Burr. He does his own shows. He does a podcast on Monday mornings. That's more like a audio podcast. Monday morning, Thursday afternoons. And I'm very impressed by what he says, that when he used to work, for example, in a restaurant or whatever the hell he was doing, because he was a comedian. So if you're a fucking comedian, man, you live like a fucking homeless person, because if you don't get a gig, Well, first of all, if you're a comedian, well, I'm not a comedian, but I can relate to that in a sense that many people who do not have degrees, they can get them a job. So as a comedian, what do you do? What the fuck do? You try to be in the clubs and try to be out there and do your thing. But then how do you fucking support it? Because nobody wants to pay you, right? I agree with that, but I guess my point is that um, I did not have any of those skills, but I think I did have skills in the sciences, and I still do, and I appreciate being an engineer. Once again, no, not that fucking engineer, and from Prometheus. Because the I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that, and I want to make this true, is that a lot of people believe in in themselves, but in the wrong way. When I say that in a wrong way, means I guess the human potential is enormous. The way we have come here, and we are now going to even probably find an exoplanet in the next, I don't know, 50 years, maybe 100 years. So what are we? What's the whole point? I mean, individually and globally. I do not even want to discuss politics of what happens on this planet, because that's not what I'm interested in. What I'm really interested in is the technology and the technological leaps that the humankind has made, because technology has actually helped people, including people in poor countries on this planet. So I guess, and I think we should actually advance technology more than anything else, because that is what's going to drive this planet in future. And you know, I want to try to be humble as possible. We have come this far. Through basic means of our tools, and we have devised from basic tools to building ships that take us into the space, and we even have a space station, which is called the International Space Station. But to that point, I am also disappointed, because all we have gone far with space and exploration of the space is, all we have done is the International Space Station, maybe Mars. But Mars, we haven't even landed a human being on Mars. And I know people like Elon Musk and even Neil deGrasse Tyson, they talk about this a lot. You know, from humans going from the cradle, you know, coming out of the cave, fighting the beasts, to walking upright and settling in Middle East, and then moving up north in the east, and you know, wherever the hell they had to go. to find more opportunities, because I mean, I have to say that I had to really quote my my one of my gurus, Terence McKenna. He's a psychonaut, and uh, if you Google psychonaut, and then you'll know what a psychonaut is. And to that point, I think I really want to emphasize one thing, which is that human beings have already explored great venues, and I think it's about time for us um, to actually explore space more than we can. And the reason for that is not because we're running away from Earth. Uh, Earth is like our home, and just imagine you actually were brought up in some, I don't know, goddamn town, whatever it is, Nebraska, whatever the hell it is, Nebraska or Iowa or I don't know, Nevada or New York or whatever the hell it is, south of the goddamn, on the Bible Belt, whatever the fuck it is, that you're brought up in a house with your parents and with your siblings, and that's how I was brought up, and I had a good upbringing. I had to say that, although there were no women in my life. Well, I mean, that's a different story to be told. But I guess my point is that I grew up there in mountains, very high mountains. I was born at 7,000 feet above sea level, and so I guess my point is that I was born there, but my dad had a job in the next town because there were a lot of opportunities in the next town, and he had a job, and so we moved from the village to the town, and then I ended up eventually going to a good school, which was reputed, and it wasn't like a public school, but it was called public school, although it was like half military, and we had to wear not the military uniforms, but like a shirt and tie and all that bullshit. And I was the head boy, and so every goddamn morning, so I had to basically lead everyone. Like I was like fucking. As if But anyways, I guess my point is that you can't, like, if I were to choose a life where I would say, yeah, mom, I think I like this girl too. So you want? I'm fine. I'll hook up with her, and we can do a marriage, and then maybe we can have whatever. And I'll just, So I would have just stayed in the mountains, but I didn't. I didn't stay in the mountains because I saw life outside the mountains, and I had seen it through whatever media, television, movies, whatever. I had this dream, like this American dream of like graduating from a grade school, um, going to a grade school first of all, and graduating as an engineer, trying to like build like whatever the fuck I wanted to build. And at the same time, I had this dream of like hooking up with an American girl. When I say an American girl, um, there's a lot of stereotyping around that, because an American girl for an immigrant is is what you see in a movie, is what you see in films, Hollywood, you know, like, um, so for me that was like a typical white American girl, um, and so that, you know, so that's what I wanted to do. So that's what I wanted to leave. That's I mean that wasn't the reason why I wanted to leave the Keter or the cave of where I come from. I mean, it's not the caves. I mean, where I come from is a beautiful place. I mean, if you look at where I come from, man, you would want to fucking go up there and just live there for the rest of your life. I mean, it's so fucking peaceful, no bullshit. Um, when I say no bullshit, that's it, man. That defines the whole fucking place, man. People are very nice, although they can be racist. I mean, um, if you go to, for example, if you go to a place in Europe, right, like Eastern Europe, I don't know. I mean, what can I say? Like maybe Albania or Greece, whatever the fuck it is. So if you go there and then if you don't look like what they look like, um, they would be very passively. They'll be very passively nice to you, but at the same time, they don't want you there. In the sense that, yeah, you're a tourist, but we don't want you to live here. Sorry, kind of thing, you know. And I'm being honest. I'm being honest because honesty is the truth. Um, so back to the point of, you know, I left Hunza, and you can look up Hunza. Hunza is a great place to live, actually. Um, if you want to settle down and, you know, have a family and all that. And there are a lot of great people with great minds who actually live in Hunza. And Hunza is very famous for tourists. I don't want to say that because I fucking hate tourists in New York. So if somebody tells me that, oh, New York is great because we got a lot of tourists, no. But local people are very nice, and there's a lot of culture. There's a lot of culture over there, and I guess my goal is to get to Hunza. I haven't been there. I haven't been there in 16 years, and you know, that's my fucking birthplace, dude. I haven't been there in 16 years, and I kind of miss the place, you know. And the reason I miss the place is because of two reasons. One is I have family there, like extended family, like right now my mom and my dad are there, and they built this house and they want to do like the Airbnb thing, you know. I'm like, yeah, do it. Why the hell not? So, I mean, I have a lot of things to say about Airbnb, but I heard that actually New York wanted to have a lot of like constraints against the Airbnb, but that's a different subject I don't want to discuss right now. There's no point in discussing that. What I do want to discuss is you know, actually I actually passed by Barclays Center, and that's what I wanted to talk to you about. I have a smart car. You know what a fucking smart car is? Okay, smart car is like 2-seaters, and it's a perfect urban car, man. I fucking love this. I fucking love that car. And so, you know, I was driving back from work, and, you know, I take Brooklyn Bridge sometimes, Manhattan Bridge back into Brooklyn. And so there was a lot of traffic. You know, I usually get on Flatbush Avenue, and then I take Atlantic Avenue into my neighborhood. And my neighborhood is great. I mean, I love this fucking neighborhood. Um, Sometimes I feel that I don't belong here. But then the question is, why do I belong? I mean, I feel like an alien who just fucking crash landed his ship on this planet. I mean, if you think about any place on this planet, uh, you're gonna find an issue always. You're gonna find an issue always where you like, oh man, this is not where I want to live. But Brooklyn is a great place to live, actually, um, and it's very it's very laid back. That's the term I wanted to use. Fucking yeah, laid back, fucking laid back. If I were to move from here to somewhere else, I think I would move to I don't know, not Los. I think I would move to San Francisco, or maybe Boulder, Colorado, because I'm from mountains and I kind of like that environment. And it's nice. It's nice to be in Boulder, or in mountains. But you don't get a lot of opportunities that you do in New York. So Boulder is a small place, and California, San Francisco is smaller than New York. So I guess to back to the point of the expectation and the tools, to leave this planet, not for good, as if the Europeans left the old country for their betterment, for economic reasons. I don't think we have a planet yet. We have discovered a planet yet to say, oh yeah, that's the planet where we want to go, because that looks like more pleasing and more lucrative in terms of the well-being for the self and for the family. Um, But I think that's the future, and the reason I'm saying that is that this is the evolution. I mean, this is the evolution of the human being. Uh, Human being evolved from a very close species, chimpanzee, and chimpanzees, they don't have that skill that we do. I mean, we created this technology that I'm using and everybody else is using. I can't believe you guys can't live without cell phones. I mean, I think I can live without a cell phone, but no, I don't think I can. Maybe I can. How? I don't know. If I have to be like a Buddha, and I'm like, I've done all this shit, and I don't want to be part of this, and I just want to go up to the mountains. By the way, if you listen to one of the Obama interviews with Bill Maher, I think, yeah, he said that one of the presidents of this country, actually, he used to like just disappear, and he used to go to, like, I don't know, fucking to the West, and he would just be there for like a week, and then nobody would know where he was. And I think I kind of like that, because if you are by yourself and go, you don't tell the world to go fuck yourself, but you say to the world, hey, listen, these are my rules, and these are the rules that I'm going to set, and then it's better for you, you know. You're doing this, and you're a fucking president. You deal with this bullshit, that bullshit, and then it's like all bourgeois. You're a fucking president of the United States, and then you're like, oh, dude. I mean, and then you sit on the toilet. Okay, that's what I would do if I were him. I think he talked about Frederick Douglass. I think Frederick Douglass did do, or FDR. I don't know, one of those guys. And so if I were one of those guys, right, and I'm sitting on the toilet, right, and I'll be thinking, what the fuck, dude? Is this my life? I mean, what the fuck? I don't want to live this life. This is really not me. You know, that's like a fucking public figure talking to a fucking microphone, and I can understand that. And I don't know why Obama didn't do that. He should have done that. He should have said, "Fuck you all." You know what? I'm just taking, I'm just taking a leave. Whatever the fuck it is. You know how the professors from the colleges do? They take a what the fuck it is. They take a leave and they fucking whatever the fuck is out. Yeah, that's what I would do. I mean, that's what I would do to, if I could do that, then I would do, and I would just fucking like live in the fucking, in the West Coast and some pristine place, and I'll just set up a tent and I'll just fucking grill the fucking Rutherford. I'll have my own fucking meat, which means not me meeting myself, or my own meat doesn't mean my own meat, but means I will hunt my own prey, and then I won't waste any of that animal, because if you hunt a prey, you have to understand one thing as a hunter, which is because I'm not a hunter. My cousin was he was a hunter, and my grandfather's cousins, they were hunters, and when I say hunters, real hunters, like you have to climb up like this steep. You have to climb up this steep to find the animal, and those are ibex, and the ibex are very, very hard to hunt. They are the most difficult animals to hunt, but they did, and I mean, that's what I would do. I mean, if I were to be the president, that's what I would do. I would be like, dude, just give me a week. I'll come back. I'll have the visions, and then we can work this out. And I think that's what Trump likes, because I think Trump's problems are that he has been in the real estate business for a long time, and New York real estate business, especially among the millionaires and the billionaires, it's very finicky. You know what finicky means? Means like, yeah, man, I gotta do this. You listen to me this or no? What about the boot at the bar? Doot the bar to put. So that's you got my point, because and Obama to a point, I think he thought he had a lot of responsibility, which I don't think he did. I think he came into the power, and I have to say this again. Obama wasn't a messiah. I mean, he was never a messiah. I mean, he was a guy who actually who was half black and half white. And I have said this many times on Twitter. He was a guy who never actually apologized to the black people uh, for as a president for African Americans to be brought into into this country through slavery. He never apologized. He never said that. He never said that. Hey, I'm sorry that this country made some mistakes, and I do apologize for what happened to African Americans or people of color, whatever the fuck it is. He never said that. Can you believe that? I mean, I just couldn't believe that either. I was actually expecting him at least to say that, but he never did. But the point I'm trying to make is that humans always have to evolve, and the evolution occurs at a natural state. I'm a big fan of like I said, Neil deGrasse Tyson, all these astrophysicists who have even gone to a point where some guy was asking them, "Hey, so you don't believe in God? So what are you going to do when you die?" And that's I think that was one of the stupidest questions somebody asks. Hey, so you are a scientist, and you're a science guy, but you don't believe in God. Just imagine that you die and then you realize there is a God. And I was kind of amazed. I was kind of amazed that Neil deGrasse Tyson, he didn't say, "Go fuck yourself." That's what I would do. Go fuck yourself. But I think he said in a very gentleman's, in a very professional manner, in a sense that, listen, first of all, if I die and I don't even want to say anything about the God because I don't know. Because you don't know what you're going to do. I mean, what's going to happen to you when you die? Right? That's the question. So he said, and I had to quote this because this was very fascinating. He said, "Listen, I don't know if I would meet the God. I don't know, and I don't even understand the philosophy of defining a God. What is a God? I mean, are you talking about a God from the Bible?" And I think that's what the other guy was, the guy who was questioning him, had the idea that Neil deGrasse Tyson, I think he grew up as a Catholic Christian, and if you are an astrophysicist and you don't believe in any of that nonsense that the Catholics or any of those other religions try to teach you through the books, because the books were actually concocted. The books are the concoction of few men who who wanted to control the masses, and that's my point of view. I do believe there was a Jesus, or there was a Muhammad, there was a Moses, and I think they actually they're set to the regimes, and it's set, and I can imagine, I can imagine now what's happening in the whole fucking world, and I can imagine what would a Jesus figure would say to to the government people who are governing. Like, why are you killing people because they want to work on Fridays or Sundays? Why are you doing that? Or we're doing that because the book said. Well, okay, but that's wrong. But that's wrong. And that's how anybody and everybody who actually stood up to the truth, the society actually killed them. And I can imagine a Jesus figure, a Muhammad figure, a Moses figure. But the problem comes after them. And the problem is that people who actually sacrifice themselves, somebody like Jesus or Muhammad or whatever, they sacrifice themselves for the sake of speaking the truth. And then later on, when people realize, oh, shit, this guy was right. Oh, fuck, this guy was right. And now what we're going to do? People realize that, and then the leaders realize that too. And now the leaders realize that, oh shit, yeah, this guy was right, but we gotta turn the, we gotta turn the, we gotta turn backwards in a sense that now we're gonna use his teaching to control the masses. So we're gonna say, oh yeah, he was right. But this is what he said, and that's how they wrote the Bible and Quran and all that, So my point is that if there's no change in the world is stagnant. What do we need now? What do we need? Do we need messiahs? What do we need? What do we need? Do we need messiahs in the church and the mosques and the synagogues and all of those? I don't think so. I think we are over that. What do we need, in my honest opinions, is people who speak the truth. Because the Bible never teaches you the truth. It doesn't. Nor does the Quran or any of those books. We know that now for a long time. And so, what's the truth? And the truth is that we have to evolve. We have to evolve spiritually. When I say we have to evolve spiritually, means that's for an individual. An individual cannot grow spiritually in a church or a mosque or one of those. No, because if you believe in yourself as an entity besides your physical entity, you have to understand your own self first, and the self is more important than collective. I don't want to dwell into the Jungian philosophy or the Freudian philosophy of whatever the fuck it was, but my point is that if my philosophy of believing, not believing in, but trying to tap into. Okay, I think that's the best word. Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to use. Trying to tap into a spiritual stream. Like, for example, I was driving up Reno, Colorado to go to Burning Man. There are a lot of streams that flow, like beautiful. Like, I felt like I was home because I grew up in a mountain environment like that, rugged, and then you see a few few very small towns where you see the trees, and then rest of the 50 minutes of the drive is like rugged. You don't see any fucking thing. So I think the point is that you tap into, the point is to tap into the spiritual realm of the collective. So what's the spiritual realm of the collective? Okay. If you talk to an astrophysicist, what's the driving force behind driving this universe? They would tell you. There are a few things, Big Bang and all that, but there are four fundamental forces that actually govern this universe, and those forces are apparently the electromagnetic force, the gravity, and the electromagnetic gravity, and there are a couple of other forces. I don't remember. I'm sorry. And they're trying to find out. How the existence of this universe is a physical universe, which I believe emanates from a higher dimension. I mean, you could say that, yeah, that's a tesseract. Tesseract is this thing that you can actually evolve, which is like a shadow of a fourth dimension, which we cannot, as human beings, we cannot perceive, because a fourth dimension to us is very, very alien. To that point, I think my point is that maybe there are other higher dimensions, and maybe there are aliens and other beings from all these other planets. You call them aliens, and they have actually evolved into actually finding that higher dimension. And maybe they are looking down to us, and we are just like animals. And that's what we are. I mean, if you think about us, we are just animals. And we are animals. We are animals of a higher capability to devise tools, starting from whatever the hell very basic tools to computers and technology and into the space. But I think what we haven't really evolved into is what it means from us being animals to evolve into a real being of a high caliber. I'm not talking about a soldier where he was like fucking Iron Man, he came from another planet. I'm not talking about that, because that's fictional, and that will never happen. But what will happen is that we discover that actually there is more to this planet. There's more to what we have discovered so far, and what we have discovered so far is amazing. We have discovered a lot of things in the past 200 years, but I think what we are going towards is even more fantastic. It's not about Star Wars. It's not about Star Wars, because Star Wars is fictional. It's very fictional, and I mean, I'm a big fan of Star Wars, and I mean, I have to agree with Neil deGrasse Tyson, and when he says that, yeah, the only thing that I can see, which was kind of credible of Star Wars, is that when Luke, um, in Star Wars: The New Hope, actually, he comes out of his parents, his adopted parents, foster parents. And he comes out and then he sees two sons to the planet he's living in, because whatever the fuck happened with Dark Vader. Well, I mean, I don't want to delve into Star Wars, because that's a whole different discussion to be had. But I guess my point is that the human evolution occurs in a very natural pace, in a very natural way, and it will happen. It will happen. It will happen to a point of not really surprise, but a surprise to a point where humans will realize their potential to actually tap into this force, tap into this spiritual force that already exists, and I hope we do, because I'm all for it. I mean, I have a feeling that there is there's evolution, and there's something I wanted to talk about. The evolution cycle started with Darwin, and now we are going to evolve beyond what Darwin thought. I think that's what the point is, that we actually are within our biological body. I think there's something else. I mean, people talk about what's mind. People talk about mind as the software behind the machinery of the hardware of our body, or the brain. But that's true to an extent. But I think it's more to it. The mind is somehow seeking. The mind is somehow seeking more than just what we are in this three-dimensional space and time. And that's what the mind is striving to evolve into. And how does it do it? And that's the question. How does it do it? I don't know. I thought psychedelics could do it. And they do actually, but that's for your individual growth, spiritual growth. Yes, psychedelics do that, because they actually tell you to update your software. I mean, this is the quote that I had quote from my one of my gurus, Terence McKenna, and psychedelics actually do help you update the software in your mind, as opposed to other drugs. I don't want to go into the discussion of the problems that this country is facing right now with prescription drugs, and nobody had ever envisioned that this would be a big problem. And actually, I was at a bar the other night. This is Friday night in in Prospect Heights, one of those cocktail bars, and some guy walks in. Then he's sitting next to me, and we're talking about shit, and we're talking about like the drug culture, and I said, hey man, do you drink coffee? And he's like, yeah, I mean, I like coffee. I like coffee is my drug of choice. I'm like, yeah, that's a drug. Do you know that? I mean, that's like a mild, very mild cocaine. And he's like, yeah, I know that, but I had to be up. Why? I mean, I'm like, okay, that's caffeine. That's like heavy dose of caffeine. And caffeine is not. It's really not for you. It's really not good for your body. And then we ended up having this discussion about caffeine leading to cocaine. Not for everybody, but apparently, if you want to be up, you start with caffeine, and if caffeine doesn't help you, you start with cocaine, and then antidotes for all this bullshit are heroin, opioids, and I'm like, wait a minute, and I say this all the time, and I have to say this because I have said this many times on my Twitter account, and I used to go to these rave parties in Bushwick, and if you ever been to one of those rave parties in Bushwick, then it's fucking awesome. Nobody gives a shit. Whatever the fuck you want to do, you can smoke whatever the fuck you want to do. But then I get really kind of disappointed by all these kids. Okay, you want to be at a rave party in Bushwick. To do what? Smoke cigarettes? And all these kids, they belong to all these, I shouldn't say rich families, but families in their own minds with a conscience where it tells them, hey, by the way, if you are in a rave party, do you know what you should take and what you shouldn't? And also, do you know that cigarettes are actually bad for you? And that actually makes me kind of fucking sad. That, is this the fucking youth? Is this our fucking youth? Is this our future? And then, you know what I want to do? I want to get the fuck out of there. And that's what I did. I'm like, fuck you. And so that makes me sad. That makes me really sad. That these kids, they just want to like smoke because smoking was banned in the bars in New York, which I think that was a fucking great idea. Bloomberg did it, and I had to give him props for that one. And so, I mean, I kind of understand and believe in the idea that goods are produced for the consumption of the consumer. Whatever goods you're producing because there's always a consumer at the end that you are producing for. Same thing with drugs. Heroin, whatever the fuck it is, dude. Yeah, there is a consumer. And now, not only that, there's a consumer who can get legal drugs, like all these fucking whatever the fuck they call them, in the pharmaceutical industry. They are the ones who are actually killing half of America. And I'm appalled. I'm appalled. I'm fucking appalled that you have to take these prescription drugs because you're addicted to them. For fucking what? Why? Um, I understand the why part. I understand the why part because white people, I mean, I consider more white than anybody, any other genre of the world, the fuck. But is that what you want, how you want to end your life with? That's not what you want to do, man. Or woman. And I, and it's appalling. It's appalling. It's appalling to a point where you feel, hey man, what the fuck, man? Did you not do your homework? Did you not do your fucking homework when you were taking anything? Anything. When I say anything, including the food that you were eating. Come on, you went to high school, didn't you? You went to where the fuck it is. You graduated from a college or associate, where the fuck it is, right? You didn't know what you were taking. For me, it's like amazing. It's like it's not amazing, but it's disgusting, really. Like, anyways. So I mean, I think I discussed about a lot of things. I think I covered a lot of topics, and and I do want to hear about what you all have to say. I might not be as funny as I'm supposed to be. I mean, this is not supposed to be a funny podcast. I'm not a comedian. Um, I'm gonna try to talk about shit that everybody else talk about or cares about in their own life. So that's what I wanted to do, and I hope you enjoyed it. I mean, I hope you learned something, if not nothing. And if you didn't learn, that's okay. I mean, that's life. And that's all I wanted to say for now. So let's do it again. But by the way, like I said, I'm gonna do it a little more properly this time. I mean, next time, not through this MacBook camera. I have a camera. I bought a tripod, and I'm trying to get a mic for the. I mean, a mic stand for the mic, and I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it on a Sunday before like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. You know, because this is too late for me to do this. All right. So, but in any case, hit me up if you feel related to any of this shit that I talked about. Just like send me an email, whatever. My email address is naeemglt@gmail.com. All right, ciao.